Hello. Thank you for joining me on 8. I am Maggie. I really appreciate your support here on my channel. So we are getting back to this beautiful book, Excuses Be Gone by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And why are we doing this book? Because it is a book on how to defeat lifelong self-defeating thinking habits. And if you even pick up one tool in this book, it could change your life and in the lives of those around you. And since I know each and every one of you is a game changer, this could be very helpful to you and those around you. So just, you don't even, one tool. It just takes one thing that could transform your whole life. And like I say, if you do the work will do you. So we are currently in part 3, chapter 11, a new way of looking at changing old thinking habits. And what we have been going over is, let's see, we are covering the 7 core ideas for eliminating excuses, and we are on number 6. So here we go. Number 6, live in a helpful, supportive universe. One of the most important decisions you'll ever make is choosing the kind of universe you exist in. Is it helpful and supportive or hostile and unsupportive? Your answer to this question will make all the difference in terms of how you live your life and what kind of divine assistance you attract. So I just want to say that if what you are seeing reflecting back to you, you're not feeling internally like the universe is supportive or helpful, and you're getting that feedback, I want to just ask you, we're in the process of tucking 2022 to bed and saying thank you. And we're about to resurrect 2023. And I'm just encouraging you to let what needs to fall away. And even if you have to take your will to make a choice to move in that direction of the supportive, loving universe, do so. Because as you hold that frequency, the universe will begin to reflect that back to you. So you cannot be discouraged by what you see in the 3D. You cannot, it can be a Disney moment, it can be immediate, but if it's going to take some time for you to walk out your vision, you've got to hang in there. It's just like anything, hang in there. All right, here we go. So remember that you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. So if you're sure that this is an unfriendly universe, you'll look for examples to support that point of view. And you'll anticipate people attempting to cheat, judge, take advantage of, and otherwise harm you. The other thing too, if you're, the world right now is just going through so much transformation and upheaval. You know, if you're around others that are unconscious and not really aware that they're swinging with the pendulum, step back and have compassion. Okay. Continuing on, you'll blame the antagonistic, inhospitable cosmos for not cooperating with you in the fulfillment of your desires. You point the finger at belligerent folks and bad luck for the kind of world we live in. Since this worldview trickles down into every thought you have, you become a person persistently looking for an occasion to be offended and therefore in possession of a whole slew of excuses. That ain't us. I implore you to see the universe as warm and supportive one before you begin to apply the excuses be gone paradigm, because you'll look for evidence to support that view. When you believe that the universe is friendly, you see friendly people. You look for the circumstances to work in your favor. You expect good fortune flowing into your life. In other words, you aren't looking for excuses. My favorite affirmation when I feel stuck or out of sorts is, whatever I need is already here. It is all for my highest good. Jot this down and post it conspicuously throughout your house, or on the dashboard of your car, or at your office, or on your microwave oven, or even in front of your toilet. In nursing, they call that potty training. They found that actually nurses learned by reading in the bathroom, that they actually had more time to actually digest the subject in the bathroom. So here we go. But basically, you get what he's saying. The places that you're going to have high traffic, you want to have this affirmation in your face. Okay, so remind yourself, I live in a friendly universe that will support anything or desire that I'm aligned with. And I am aligned with the universal source of all. Such a stance will be a giant step towards the living an excuses begone life. Affirming that what you want is already here and all you have to do is connect to it causes you to remember that what you attract is for your highest good. So you can then go on the timing issue altogether. So you can let go of the timing issue altogether. Just know that it is here and it will arrive on God's schedule, as does everything that makes the journey non-being to being. I found that this shifting my belief about the nature of the universe, I attract whatever I desire into my life. I desire love, I desire peace, I desire health, I desire happiness, I desire prosperity. Why would I want to hold the view that our universe is an unsupported, evil, and unfriendly? How could I expect the divine realm to hear me if I'm asking it to be something other than what it is? So thus, I see my desires in a perfect rapport with how the universe works. When I pray, I do so in the spirit of St. Francis. Rather than asking God to grant him peace, this inspiring man beseeched God to make me an instrument of thy peace. In other words, let me be the source from which I originated, and then I will rest in the knowing that it must be here on its way or for my highest good. And as you can see, there's no room for excuses when you apply this model for your everyday life. As I've written and said many times, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this applies to the entire universe. So that's very beautiful. I'm wanting to say that if you are kind of coming up against walls of resistance and you don't like what you see, keep taking a look inside. Keep affirming. One block that I found from working with clients is that they might be affirming things, but they're like sealed. They're holding like this pressure back that really allows them to transform. So when you do get that time, spend some time inside, making sure that you're not just affirming stuff out here, that you're actually affirming it within and you're allowing it to enter into your life, and that you're having the faith and the belief to walk it out. And if you are having resistance, just profess, I am willing to believe that I can be all I can be. I am willing to believe that I am deserving of prosperity, health, wealth, love. Okay, just begin to nudge yourself in the journey. Just take that one step towards 1,000 miles. Okay, we're going on to number 7 now. Don't complain and don't explain. Complaining and explaining are the two huge allies of excuse making. Generally speaking, when you resort to complaining, you employ an excuse of one kind or another, placing the responsibility for what's upsetting you on something or someone external to yourself. Complaining about the way somebody has performed or failed to perform is another way of making an excuse for why you're dissatisfied or unhappy. It's their fault that my blood pressure is up. Look at how miserably they perform. Or how can I enjoy myself at dinner when everyone here is at the restaurant is behaving so incompetently? These are prime examples. Finding faults with circumstances, the weather, the economy, other people, or anything else outside yourself is a way to hang on to an excuse. So in addition to putting an end to complaints, I recommend that you never attempt to explain. I've noticed too that the more that we explain, complaining, explaining, but we're also we're laying down the foundation, and we're creating those grooves in our brains to hold that in place. And that's why if you're vomiting up trauma, you're vomiting up abuse, or you're getting, you're purging yourself of something, you need to at that point pivot and begin walking out the new behavior you're going to do. Otherwise, you're just going to loop that trauma, that abuse, that complaining, that explaining, and you're going to just root it in. You want to let it release, and then you want to create a new pattern. Okay. So, in addition to putting an end to complaints, I recommend you never attempt to explain. As I pursued a no excuses mentality, I've made it my policy to keep the things that I wish to accomplish a private matter. By doing so, I'm never forced into a stance of having to explain myself. I'm well aware that many of my personal life missions sound strange and outrageous to others. Consequently, I've learned to avoid sharing my intention with anyone outside of my select few whom I know and trust at a spiritual level. So I think that's really, really important. Earlier I had said that, trusted professional, that trusted friend, but it's very, very important that when you are laying down your heart, or you're laying down perceived wrongs or sins or whatever, things that you're course correcting, that you have that very small group of trusted. You don't be telling everybody, because you do have to have that shoulder to lean on as you are clearing and as you are healing, and you have that outside mirror to kind of say, sometimes you need that person to kind of kick you in the ass and get you going and telling you, hey, this is not the way, this is the way. Like, we have the guidance within ourselves, but we also, when we have that trusted person in our life, that person can also say, hey, this is what I see. I don't know if you can receive it, but we're here to help lift each other up. So I love how he put that in there. So he keeps his select few who he knows and he trusts on a spiritual level. Anything I might say to these individuals wouldn't require me to explain myself in any way. And you know if you know what I'm talking about, because like when you get with somebody like this, they don't beat you up with the tools and they don't judge you. They actually hold the space so that you can actually find your way out of the darkness. The problem with having to explain yourself is that in doing so, you inevitably invoke the ego to do your bidding. You have a tendency to make yourself right, sensible, and understood. Yeah. You're reinforcing your excuse, basically. So while at the same time dealing with the doubts and antagonisms of those who don't share your views or your optimism. And also, if you are noticing that we're all here to help each other, if someone else is doing this and they're not quite ready to release their excuse, just be patient, okay? Because they're going to come full circle at some point. When you keep things to yourself, you stay connected to your spiritual side, or the place within you that has no need to be right or make anyone else wrong. Since all of creation comes from the world of non-being, if you want to give life to your dreams and desires, if you wish to manifest your own destiny, then you must rely on the great source of all creation, Spirit. The moment you inject ego into the picture, you invite excuses. And the moment you invoke those familiar excuses, you stop the creative and the creation process from manifesting. So like in reality transurfing, they talk about avoiding staying out of the pendulum, and also talk about dropping importance, so you're not bringing alternative forces in, and then also that you're not putting yourself in situations that's going to pulsate this negative thing and send you on an induced transition, a lower life track. So, yep, lots of words to say the same things. So as Lao Tzu put it, the Tao gives rise to all form, yet it has no form of its own. Stop striving after admiration. Place your esteem on the Tao. Live in accord with it. Share with others the teaching that led to it, and you will be immersed in the blessing that flows from it. So in more modern language, stop complaining and explaining. Your excuses will soon cease. And these then are my 7 favorite ideas for you to contemplate as you prepare to study the Excuses Be Gone paradigm. So, how to use the paradigm? I created the Excuses Be Gone paradigm because my strong belief in the spirit of the quote at the beginning of this chapter: never underestimate your power to change yourself. Never overestimate your power to change others. The key word in this quotation is power. I know there's a power within you that's capable of making dramatic changes in relatively short periods of time. The problem I've discovered is that most people feel disempowered when it comes to overcoming a lifetime of self-defeating thinking. It's actually quite easy to change the way we think and act, regardless of how long we've done it or how much reinforcement we receive that's solidifying a way of being. I put myself to this test on many occasions, and I've always found that making these changes is much simpler than others would have me think. I believe that in the same way our body knows how to maintain an optimal state of health without any outside interference, so too is our mind programmed by source energy to know how and what to think in order to optimize our emotional and spiritual development. So we have an inner knowing, right? We have an inner knowing. And that's why our prayer time, our time in the silence alone in meditation is really important, because that's when we get to be in tune with our Creator and we get to hear the guidance and the voice guiding us. So I have stopped underestimating the power we contain within us to make apparently radical shifts, and have applied the Excuses Be Gone paradigm to overcome addictions of all stripes in my life. I've also used it to help me attract the right people, the right circumstances, the right jobs, the funding I needed, and the healing I desired, and so on. And so this is the thing too, if you have a long entrenched pattern, it's an excuse, or you have a long entrenched, like you're trying to overcome some type of trauma or some type of abuse, or it's some type of, rejection or pain or whatever, and it's, pretty strong, you have to make the choice that you're now going to walk in a new direction. And then when you do, you intend that you acknowledge what it is that you want to overcome. Like, what is this? And then you acknowledge God and acknowledge that you want it to clear. And then allow the new energy, allow it to flush out, and allow the new energy to come in. And then also then make an intention of the direction you want to move in. Whenever you're clearing something, you always want to replace, it's vacuumed out. You want to fill that with your higher order energies. And whatever you do, don't give up. And then as you're walking through life, make this choice by choice. Make the choice you need to support that intention. Okay? It sounds really hard. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's very easy. If you don't give up, if you do the work will do you. And you just got to stick at it, and you got to be real with yourself. So I have stopped underestimating the power we contain within us to make apparently radical shifts, and have applied the Excuses Be Gone paradigm to overcome addictions of all stripes in my life. I also used it to help me attract the right people, the right circumstances, the right jobs, and funding I needed, and the healing I desired, and so on. I've seen many individuals leave old thinking and behavior behind, with very little time or hard effort devoted to the outcome. The impact of early imprinting and conditioning is felt throughout the life until a change is initiated. And I've never bought into the idea that our early childhood programming is insurmountable. Nor do I accept that we have an unconscious mind that cannot be accessed. And you know that I even reject the ideas that our genes and the DNA are excuses for all manner of thinking and behaving. Rather, I've chosen to believe in the innate power within each one of us to change. So each chapter that follows in this last part of this book is presented as a question to ask yourself. Take some time before you answer and read through the chapters with a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing. Consider, because we are trying to make a new, we are renewing our mind. So open your mind, ask the questions, and be open to what might come forward. Consider the examples I present, examine both sides, and stay neutral in your assessment of how they apply to you today. In other words, simply let it all come in, particularly the parts that you immediately think don't apply to you. There is no exercises to do, list to make, rules to follow, or complicated instructions to memorize. All you need to do as you read the following pages is keep in mind the words of Lao Tzu. If you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place. This paradigm for changing habitual thinking is all about helping you to correct your mind. Enjoy as everything else just falls into place. And so when we study the Kabbalion and we study Hermetic principles, the very first principle is mentalism. And that we are a thought in the mind of God. And we are in this earth coming forth of a thought in the mind of God. So it's very important that our mindset is set in a way that is going to be helpful, supportive, and put us in the direction of our dreams. And that is what Lao Tzu is also saying. If you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place. Now, this does not mean ignore the heart. We know the field of the heart is way larger than the mind. But many, many times, our mind, our mentalism is thinking and wrapped up in all kinds of crap that's shit in, shit out, right? So it's wrapped up in things that it's not going to feed us. So you want to work on that heart-mind coherence. But since we are addressing the mind at this moment, make sure what you're feeding your mind is going to be something that will serve you in positive ways. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. I really appreciate your support on my channel. Please hit subscribe and like and leave your positive comments. I really appreciate you. And, listening to the end of the video, I love that. And please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what tool you took away from this. All right. Well, have a wonderful day, and I'm going to see you tomorrow. And you know what's next? You know what's next. Peace in. Peace